Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the 2022 U.S. Senate. Last final prediction of the U.S. Senate. I might do governor one, I'm not sure. But this is the last one. Last prediction for the U.S. Senate. The election is going to be tomorrow when I'm making this it's election eve. So I'm really hyped up for this. So let's get to it and start doing the prediction. Before I say that, if you want to watch my house prediction, I'm going to put the link to that in the description and in the box up below so you guys can watch that. And then you guys should also go to subscribe to my channel so when I post more election content, you should see it. But anyways, let's just go right into the safe states. I'm not even going to say these states' names. These are just safe states. The only one that people might debate about is Utah, just because of Evan McMullin, and I don't think he's going to have that big of an effect in the race. These are safe Republican states, and if we do the safe Democrat states as well, it will look like this. But these are, okay, so those are all the safe states. So the swing states are Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. A lot of them are some more competitive than others, but let's just start with Wisconsin, I guess. Let's start with Wisconsin. So Wisconsin is an interesting one. So the incumbent is Ron Johnson, who's fairly unpopular. He's just he has a lot of stuff and people don't like him, but he has a really high chance of winning. Mandela Barnes is not the best candidate. He's not as bad as people say, in my opinion, but he's pretty bad. But Ron Johnson, he is also fairly unpopular. So this might be a hot take, but I'm going to put this in a lean margin. Ron Johnson is probably going to win by 5. There's so many reasons why people could disagree with me. This is a swing state that Biden only won by 0.6 points, even though he was supposed to win by so much more. Mandela Barnes is a terrible opponent. Challenger. The thing about Mandela Barnes is that he has an interesting strategy. He's trying to be a middle class person. He's trying to appeal to moderates, and a lot of old Democrats, like 1980 Wisconsin Democrats or something, or Democrats in Wisconsin when Obama won the state or something like that. Those type of Democrats will also trying to appeal to a lot of progressives. And it's interesting. It's not working though, but it's pretty interesting. But yeah, Ron Johnson is highly going to win this race. Not really a chance. Wisconsin is a pretty red state. And even though Ron Johnson is unpopular, Mandela Barnes is not that great of a candidate. We'll look at polls really quick. Barnes only won one poll by bad pollster. Johnson wins all of them. Lowest time, he won by 2. So I think a lean margin would be appropriate. Likely margin also could be appropriate, but I'm going to have to put it in lean margin for now. Next, I'm going to do Ohio. Ohio is a very interesting race. Tim Ryan is the Democratic nominee, and he is a moderate Democrat. And it's interesting how it's playing out, because usually this race wouldn't be competitive, and nobody would be talking about it if it wasn't for Tim Ryan. So Tim Ryan's a moderate Democrat, quote-unquote, working class, probably one of the most moderate Democrats in Congress, even though he votes with Biden 100% of the time, but that's beyond the point. And J.D. Vance, his opponent, is a book author. They're both running for an open seat. J.D. Vance is kind of just a traditional conservative. He's a Trumper a little bit, you could say. But Tim Ryan, he is a good candidate, so I'm going to put in 5 points for Vance. This is appropriate. Tim Ryan did not do that well in the debate, so I think that's why I moved it. This could be a lean margin, though. But J.D. Vance is a pretty standard okay candidate. There's nothing too special about him, though. He's just an okay candidate. And Tim Ryan is a pretty good candidate for Ohio. I think he just ran in the wrong year at the wrong time against the wrong person, you could say. So that's why I'm going to have a likely Republican. Okay, next, I'm going to skip Pennsylvania. I'm just going to go to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is an interesting seat. I've not been paying too much attention to it because the Democrat is highly favored. Her name is Maggie Hassan. She won the seat in 2016. And her opponent is Bolduc, who is an interesting candidate. He's probably the worst. Everybody thought Chuck Morris was going to win, but then he won, and that was probably the worst candidate, because maybe the Republicans could have so easily flipped the seat, but they had a terrible nominee, which really is going to affect them. So Maggie Hassan is just a standard Democrat incumbent. from New Hampshire, really. Nothing too special. Donald Bolduc is just a Trump Republican, really. That's pretty much all I can say about this race. I have not been paying too much attention to it. Polls, though, two of them have Bolduc up, but Hassan is leading in the majority of them. So this one I'm going to have to put in lean D. I did have this in likely D, but Bolduc's campaign is actually getting a little better. So I'm going to have to put this in lean D. Okay, sorry, I have the pause of recording. The next state we're going to look at is North Carolina, because I said I was going to skip Pennsylvania. So while that loads. North Carolina, the Republican nominee is Ted Budd, a U.S. representative representing a district in North Carolina. And Sherry Beasley was the former North Carolina Supreme Court Justice until she was kicked out of her office by 400 votes in 2020. So Sherry Beasley, I think, is a very interesting candidate. It looks like the Democrats were trying to push a law and order Democrat in the state, and I think that was a pretty smart move because of recent crime rates. And Sherry Beasley, in the debates, really destroyed Ted Budd on the issue of crime. But Sherry Beasley is a pretty good candidate because she's appealing to a lot of rural black voters while also appealing to white voters at the same time. So it's a really smart move because obviously black and white voters are how you win in the South, and especially in North Carolina and Georgia. So that, I think, is a smart campaign, and she's pretty good on the issues as well. While Ted Budd, he is also a good candidate, but he's more standard and generic in my opinion. He's just going to appeal to conservatives, traditional conservatives, and that's pretty much it. Not a lot about him. He's just a generic Republican in my opinion. Not to say that he's a bad candidate, but he's just generic. But yeah, I feel like at the end though, because Sherry Beasley is a good candidate, but this is a red wave year, a year favoring Republicans. I think Ted Budd will win by 3.8 points because this is a state that's becoming really close. Trump only won it by a point or less in 2020, and and Sherry Beasley is a good candidate. So add those two factors, I think this will go to Sherry Beasley. Okay, I'm going to skip Georgia for now, and we're going to go to Florida, and this one's just going to be likely R. Val Demings is also a good candidate, but she has less of a chance because Florida is more partisan, and Marco Rubio is more well-known. Val Demings is going to do well with minority vote there. She's also somewhat of a law and order Democrat that's going to appeal to the minority vote as well. And she's going to appeal to a lot of the LBGT vote as well. So she has a pretty good spectrum, and she is probably in my opinion, I would say she is a moderate Democrat. And she is a pretty good candidate. She was probably the best candidate also this year because because of gerrymandering, Ron DeSantis basically just kicked her out of office. So so she was going to lose basically at all anyway. So this was a pretty good candidate to placehold, if that makes sense. And she makes some pretty good attacks and is good on the issues as well. Marco Rubio is just also an average Republican. He's a little different. I would say he's a little more awkward, but he's just generic, and he's likely going to win by 6 points. If you look at polls, Rubio winning by 8, 6, 9, 7, 7, 7, 11, 4. So the closest one would be lean margins, but this is probably going to be 6 to 7, probably 8 points for Rubio here. Now we're going to go to Colorado. This one's probably the least competitive state here. Michael Bennet is extremely popular. He's in. Sorry. I just ate ice cream, so. But anyways, he is the current U.S. Senator for Colorado and pretty well known around the country. Mostly. Not that much, though. But yeah, he's a pretty good, popular senator. And Joe Dea is a business owner, and he's actually fairly moderate for what he is. I'm going to put this in a likely margin. I'm going to say 7 points for Michael Bennet, because Joe Dea is a pretty good candidate for Colorado, and this is and in 2016, Michael Bennet won by 6 points. And some polls are showing this being somewhat competitive, but most of them are showing it not to. Basically, just that Trafalgar poll. That's pretty much the only poll that is trying to say it's competitive. But the other ones, they're not really saying that. This is not a lot to say here. Joe Dea is a pretty nice, good, moderate candidate. Michael Bennet is a pretty good senator. Pretty both good candidates, but still, Colorado is a blue state. Went divided by like 11 points, and when voted against Cory Gardner by like 9. So I think this will be a likely margin state, even though they're both good candidates. Not a lot to say there. Now, next, we have the close states. So these are probably the closest 4 states this whole election: Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. I'm gonna start with Nevada. I'm gonna start with Arizona, and then go to Nevada, and then then Georgia, and then Pennsylvania. So first, we're going to go to Arizona. Mark Kelly is pretty favored in this race, and this race has been looking pretty good. Mark Kelly's the incumbent U.S. Senator from Arizona. He won in the 2020 special election against Martha McSally, and it was a pretty good win. He won by 2.4 in a state that Biden only won by like 0.4, actually. So this is a pretty good state. This is a pretty good state for the Democrats this year. Kelly has been leading in almost every poll except for 2 that shows it even. And Kelly is winning by 4, 1, 2, 2, 6, 1. This is a pretty good race for him. Blake Masters does have a chance, and I think he's kind of underrated with his chance of winning. 538 has him having a 35 and 100 chance of winning. He is a businessman and author. I don't really know exactly what he is, to be honest. I haven't been paying too much attention to his background. But Mark Kelly is somewhat has a moderate record, which is good for the state of Montana. And a lot of stuff that Blake Masters says is not really moderate. There was a candidate. His name was Mark Victor. He was funny. But he dropped out of the race to endorse Blake Masters. And the Libertarian vote I think, in my opinion, was going to take some votes away from Masters, which was going to make it a little easier for Kelly to win. But now I feel like this is going to be tilt. This is probably going to be 0.4 for Kelly. This is a crucial state for Democrats. We cannot lose this. But this is a state that looks okay for us. I feel like we are getting a little overrated Democrats in this state. Next, we are going to do Nevada. Nevada, I feel like, is probably one of the most least watched states, and this one's going to be way closer than people are going to expect. The Democrat is an incumbent. Her name is Catherine Cortez Masto. She is a pretty strong incumbent, in my opinion. Not that strong. She's a kind of weak incumbent, actually. Well, I'll get back to that. And Adam Laxalt, he is a former attorney general and basically lobbyist. And lobbyist, yeah. But they have Adam Laxalt right now having a 57 and 100 chance of winning. Catherine Cortez Masto having a 43 and 100. But I feel like this one's going to. Okay. This one at election day can go to Catherine Cortez Masto, but it's not election day. I'm gonna have to put this one though at Tiltar. But I feel like Catherine Cortez Masto has a huge chance, and Adam Laxalt is not that great of a candidate. Catherine Cortez Masto has been attacking him pretty well. And, Catherine Cortez Masto has been attacking him pretty well. He is a former lobbyist, kind of like dynasty, because his dad and grandpa were involved in Nevada politics. But, he was also a Washington insider, so she made a whole political ad about that, and also abortion. Abortion is also a crucial issue, which I think is going to help Catherine Cortez Masto because Nevada is the most pro-choice state because of Las Vegas. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So I'll just say that. But also, I think Catherine Cortez Masto is going to do well with the Hispanic vote. Even though I actually think she will underperform with them, but she's going to win them. I feel like they don't love Catherine Cortez Masto. Even though she is the first Latina senator, they say she's not involved in the community. But they don't love Adam Laxalt. So I feel like a lot of them are just not going to vote, or they're just going to vote for Catherine Cortez Masto. So that will help her. I also think Catherine Cortez Masto is going to do well with the youth vote. But I feel like this one right now has to go to Adam Laxalt. Now, these are probably the two closest ones in the whole election. We have Pennsylvania and Georgia. I'm going to start off with Pennsylvania for now. And this is a state that could have been, oh my god. This state makes me really mad about who we nominated sometimes. The Democrat is John Fetterman, the current lieutenant governor, and he's just he's just terrible. He's just every day makes a gaffe, but he had a stroke, and that's really hurting him. And Dr. Oz is a doctor TV show doctor. Somehow we're gonna have a U.S. senator that was a doctor. But anyways, Amendment Oz 538 has given him a 46 in 100 chance of winning. John Fetterman has a 54 in 100 chance of winning. I feel like right now I have to put this in Tilt R. And I had this race at once likely D. So I do not know how John Fetterman screwed up so much. Mostly because Dr. Oz, he got a base and he started doing well with more moderate and independent voters, while John Fetterman started to lose them. And also, John Fetterman looks really unhealthy. Not saying that he is, but he looks unhealthy to many voters. So he doesn't look fit to serve office, which is also hurting him. And he also just said some terrible stuff like, I support fracking. And yeah, I support fracking. It's just, campaign is just falling apart. If you look at polls, Dr. Oz is winning by 2, Fetterman by 6, Oz by 3, Oz by 1, Oz by 3, Oz by 1, Fetterman by 3, Oz by 2. So Oz has been winning the majority of the polls lately, but I still think it'll be closer than that. So right now, Tilt R. Sorry I've not been doing a lot of explanations for my predictions because I'm just trying to keep it a little low-key than usual, if that makes sense. And now the last state is Georgia. This is probably the closest election in the whole thing. And I honestly think this is going to go to Ralph Warnock. So already the Republicans have control in Congress just because of Pennsylvania, but that doesn't really matter right now. But Herschel Walker is a football player, and Ralph Warnock is the incumbent U.S. Senator. And Ralph Warnock has made a lot of embarrassing gaffes about being a police officer. And he also has many scandals about paying for abortions, even though he wants to ban abortions, which is pretty what the heck. But Ralph Warnock is, I think, in my opinion, a good candidate as well. I think he will do pretty well. But he is a pretty good candidate. He knows how to speak to voters well, I think. I feel like he's been attacking Herschel Walker a little too much, but the debates were pretty funny to watch. But yeah, I think Ralph Warnock has this down. Walker's not that. I would say Walker's a bad candidate. He's not terrible, but I would say Walker is a bad candidate. While Warnock is a pretty standard candidate. But this is an interesting race, and Warnock is going to do better with minority vote. The GOP tried to appeal to the minority vote with electing. Well, Herschel Walker is black, so they were trying to appeal to the minority vote here, but it's not working at all. So it looks like Ralph Warnock's going to do better with them. This is not the runoff. I don't know. I will do the results if it's a runoff or not. It probably will be a runoff, but on election day, it will be Tilt D. If you look at polls really quick, Warnock 6, Warnock 4, Walker 4, Warnock 2, Walker 3, Warnock 1, Warnock 3, Walker 6. So it looks like Warnock has been winning the majority of polls. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry this video might be a little weird. I tried to record it a lot, and I was really kind of wanting to just not get it over with, but, just kind of get it over with. And I'm not really good today at explaining stuff. I'm kind of tired, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Remember to vote. If you want to see my house prediction, I will put that in the box above, and I will also put in the description below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and hit the notification button if you want to get more videos about politics. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys again soon. Sorry if the quality of the video might be a little bad. I apologize for that.